you?
Pretty good. I mean, I feel like after everything that has been happening, yeah, it's pretty good. I think it could be worse. So I've tried to be positive, um, and actually recovery is going pretty well. Like day after day, I feel like my shoulder is less painful. So obviously that helps a lot. And
Yeah.
somewhere I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, it's not like a huge injury, so like I
Yeah.
guess it's still like a bummer, but it's not
Yeah.
something I don't see the end of, which really helps. And
Do you have like any, is there anything that needs to be done, or do you just need to wait for the healing? It's not like you need, I don't know, a procedure or anything.
yeah, I talked to my physio. I went to my physio a couple of times this week. Last time I was there was this morning. I mean, it's pretty positive about recovery, and shoulder is gaining mobility. It's still painful, but uh, I think it's supposed to be because it's only been 6 days since the race, since the accident, and it said that unless the pain doesn't stop improving, um, well, like if the pain doesn't like improves, then it's fine. If it doesn't, we'll do an MRI to further look into it. There might be some like edema or little bone damage, but also like the ligaments have been stressed, so that's probably what is causing the pain. So
Yeah.
yeah, nothing super serious. I was worried because it's
Are
the
you,
same arm that I had broken 3 years ago, and I still have like all the plates in my elbow. And if I had broken that same arm, that same elbow, it would have been a disaster. So yeah,
oh,
there's some
oh,
positive in the accident.
gosh. Are you trying to do any cycling or anything like that? Are you just resting overall from, I mean, that would probably still be hard on the body, I could imagine, so maybe not.
Yeah, it is hard on the body, but I'm trying to just be stronger than the pain. Actually, cycling is isn't too bad.
Okay.
Um, I mean, if you know that it's kind of safe, like you're not making the issue worse, the pain worse. I think it's okay to accept some pain and just push through. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I took a couple of days of rest for sure after the race, but then as I got back to Italy, I started indoor cycling a bit, and it's not that bad now. I can at least hold the handlebar. And I was actually trying to jog a little bit with even if I can't swing my arm, I just have to keep it close to my chest to
Mhm.
protect it. But yeah, at least I can move.
Yeah.
So
Good.
hopefully that will
Good.
help. For sure, it's helping my mental health. So
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just like, I mean, it's also just been a big block for you to like recover from in general. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I
sure a down
feel
week is,
a little bit of pressure just because I know my coach wants me to run a race. Obviously, he knows that I'm injured and that I can wait. But I think, like technically, even for Western states, it would make a lot of sense to do a long effort, long race right now. So I think if we recover well within a couple of weeks, we'll try to find another race. You know, there's always Chianti that is kind of interesting, even if maybe not as motivating as Black Canyon. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think once I'll be maybe 85 or 90% healthy, I will maybe be more motivated to race. Right now, not so much, but just because it's
Yeah.
feels very far away.
Yeah, because there was still like the full emotional journey of a race, even maybe you could even argue a more emotionally intense journey because you didn't get to like receive that that satisfaction of seeing out what you'd built. So like yeah, I feel like it's probably a balance of like being emotionally aware enough to know like where your personal stores are at and like how much motivation you have within you to like try and pivot it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it feels like a chapter without a proper end, but that's just how it is sometimes. And not everything has to end like in a fairy tale. So it's okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's part of the
Yeah,
sport. So I'm
totally.
trying to contextualize it, and yeah, as we mentioned, like all the training I did, all the good work that I put in, it's not wasted. It's never canceled. It
Yeah.
will for sure lead to other things, and I think eventually I will be rewarded. But also for me,
Hmm.
I'm not only training for a goal to like validate the preparation with a result or to prove myself, but just because I love running, I love training, I love the process of preparation. So at least that feels pretty good because it was still one of the best training blocks of my life, and I feel very lucky that I was able to, share 3.5 weeks with Jim and Jess, and some of it with you as well, and all the experience in Flagstaff and Arizona was just amazing. So there's still a lot of reasons
Hmm.
to be happy, even without the race.
Yeah. 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 And sometimes it's like hard to separate those things out. But yeah, I'm glad that you're like able
Totally.
to be doing that these days since getting home. And I think sometimes just getting home makes some of that easier too. Like, yeah, you were away from home for a while and probably feels like, yeah, some nice bigger picture reflections just being back in a routine a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say everything has been super smooth and easy. There's definitely been some ups and downs and moments of sadness, but again, it's okay. Like I don't need to change my feelings just because we need to be happy all the time. Like we know that,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
Yeah.
But we should talk about your
Totally.
race because it's more interesting. At least it lasted a bit longer.
I just felt so bad like when yeah, when I like came across you and like yeah, saw you out there and was just like thinking of you for a while and yeah,
No,
wanted to just
thanks.
like stop and you know, see how you were and everything, but also knew it was probably really like a lot with like all of us running past
Everybody
and
was
asking you
actually
questions.
everybody was actually super nice, I think especially the girls. I remember you very vividly, and also Tara Dower wanted to stop and make
Yeah.
sure how I was doing, and that was super nice. I mean, obviously you were there for competing, and I think at that point you were leading the women's race, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about how your race unfolded, and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I think for me, like, you know, like you and I have talked about some, like the goal for me for this one, you know, since I already have my spot for Western States was really to like just go find a really, really competitive field and compete and practice competing in that kind of high density competition. And so, you know, like when I was thinking of potential ways to start the season, this was the one that was not only like the most personally meaningful for me, being close to home, but also just like the field that was assembling. Just I knew it was going to be a really historic one, and I wanted to yeah, wanted to be part of that. So really for me, my goals going into the race were like I wanted to be coming out of this with learnings. I didn't want to, you know, give it to myself easy to start the year. I wanted to like really get back in the action and be challenged because that's kind of the role this race played for me last year. Like for those not familiar, like at this race last year, I basically had a rough race, was able to pull it together to kind of like kick in the last 10 miles and pass some people, ultimately still missing a golden ticket by like a minute 55. And then when MK Sullivan was pregnant, then her spot rolled down to me. And so it was like looking back, it was this really cool journey of um, like not knowing what was ahead and not knowing like the good things that were in store. And I remember like finishing that race last year feeling so defeated. And I like, yeah, just have had so many thoughts of like that version of myself last year, this time that thought like, I've missed the ticket. I wasn't prepared enough. Like I was so hard on myself after that race. And I like wish at times I could go back to that version of myself and be like, this is all part of the, the big story. Like this is, you got like, you got other things happening this year. And so anyway, like it played this really special role for me last year. And I think,
It's easy to
yeah,
see it
that,
in retrospect, though. But
of
once you
course,
are,
I know.
within the events, it's so much harder.
I know, exactly. Because I'm sure like right now there's
Like now,
some,
everything makes sense.
yes. And like
But
or even right now, there's probably these like a future Francesco and a future Abby that would be like trying to enter the Riverside link right now, being like, Francesco, you have no idea how important like all this was and the role that it played, and if you hadn't done this, and I mean, and maybe I'm optimistic and always like wanting to look at things like it's part of this story. Like I know you and I have talked about this like idea before, and yeah, but like I think because it played this important role last year, I was like, I want to go right back to Black Canyon, put me right in the thick of it, and I want to like learn. And so, yeah, like when we went out, like I felt like super controlled and just, yeah, really wanted to like take things out strong. Felt really comfortable in those early miles. And yeah, was just hitting all the goal splits perfectly, which was super fun. And yeah, was just feeling a lot of excitement for the day in that whole stretch, really between the start and Bumblebee.
was
Coming
your
out of,
split faster than last year?
yeah, yep, yep, faster splits than last year. Um, and basically yeah, like the splits that I was targeting, I think were for like 806,
Okay.
807. But I knew that, and I think this is how I'd have to look, but I think this is how it played out for Jen and Ann. Um, I knew that if it was going to go under 8, that would happen in the later splits, not the fronts. Like the front splits couldn't be scaled to be that much faster because we're already
Sure.
taking it out so hot. I don't know if it's like that for the men's race, but it's like I knew it would come down to like deep canyon to the finish as to like how much people were able to be like just cutting down that time, but I knew it wasn't going to happen like in the first 20 miles. So yeah, in that way, I knew it wasn't going to be scaled. Like when I was kind of really studying the splits in the data, I knew it wasn't going to be scaled so heavily in the first 20. And I'll be curious to see if that changes in the future, but I can't, yeah, I mean, of course, it always does, but it was interesting to see a good group of us all arriving in Black Canyon, I believe, in 2:10, which was yeah, several minutes faster than
Wow.
last year. Yeah.
Just by comparison, I think last year the split was 201 for the men, and it was 157 this year. So that's
Yeah.
extremely fast. But I
Yeah.
think, for there's probably a margin of 1 or 2 minutes that you can gain in the first 20 miles, but the margin might become 15 or 20 minutes in the second half just because how things become more spread out. And
Yeah.
that's just ultra running. I think if you just look at the data, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think at that point around Bumblebee, like we all arrived at the same time and it was like I'm not, I think it was Jen and Tara, Molly, and myself. And so it's pretty interesting to me to see that like it was like the same players early on that like we kind of all broke out into like maybe our individual like sub races within that uh, in in terms of like head to head as it was unfolding like throughout the course. But yeah, like leaving Black Canyon, on the actually on the climb out of there, I took a really hard fall, and actually still haven't been able to run yet.
Oh,
Pretty
damn.
beat up from that. Yeah, just went and saw Wes yesterday, my physio, and yeah, like just really just beat up my knee really bad at like
Is it just
most of the
bruised
first part.
or
Yeah, so
something more serious?
yeah. Fortunately, it's like not something more serious.
Okay.
Like I don't need to get imaging or anything like that. That was really good to go up to Flagstaff and confirm that. But yeah, it's just been like I'm still just getting that range of motion back. It like swelled up super big, and then all the swelling went down my leg, and I basically just hit like my IT band attachment super super hard. So it's just kind of like yeah, just got really beat up from that. And yeah, it like kind of took me off guard in the race that fall. And so, like there's the mental chatter of like, get up, keep going, hurry, like get back on it. But it was really like that next section, it was like hard for me to get back on the splits just because I felt like just really beat up. And I know everyone's taking falls in this race. It's like, and like sometimes I fall and it's like a nothing fall. Sometimes it's like a like takes something out of you and
Some
yeah
people
it
get
was
up,
like
some people don't,
yeah
like me.
well I mean yeah it's like yeah
I mean, I
falls
got
are
up
just
and I managed
yeah
like 6 miles after the fall, but then
yeah
there was no way I was going to continue.
yeah
But
absolutely yeah like and it's like yeah falls are just like there's such a range of them too that's like
and also I feel like Black Canyon is such a punishing course because you run it really fast and
yeah
it's more rocky than most people think, and it's just
yeah
a tricky course. Also with the light at the sunrise, and I don't know. I found it
yeah
not as easy
yes
as I could imagine.
You are so right. That sunrise, like at Antelope Mesa, like when you're just
Hmm.
running towards it, that was really
Exactly.
challenging. Because I remember like I put my sunglasses on and I was like, not quite yet, but it
No.
was it was really tricky. Visibility was really hard, and I can totally imagine these exact conditions in
Yeah,
which
that's
you
how I
felt.
felt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, Tara took a fall, and you took a fall, and a lot of other
yep,
people had bloody knees and
yeah,
scratched arms. So,
yeah, yeah. It's like a hard part of it.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, so like that next section for me, like I lost a couple minutes in there, probably like maybe it was 2 or 3 minutes off of the split that I needed for that next section. And then like started to get in a little bit more of a rhythm, but then yeah, basically in Deep Canyon, got there like still in a good split, like still faster than the record splits from last year. Um, and like saw Molly leaving Deep Canyon and like knew that we were relatively close through there. And I think like I kind of pictured that like, maybe like this because this is like, the later miles of this ultra. I'm curious how this is going to go for her. This is like a new experience and just like Sharon's so strong in those last miles and basically we ultimately ran split for split to the finish. I mean, there were some sections where we would put I say we Cordis started pacing me at Deep Canyon and we would put maybe 45 seconds on her and then she and her pacer would do the same for me and I mean but even as Cordis and I were studying the splits like on Sunday like it was really like getting so like particular with like, okay, like this, okay, if I could have done this climb 20 seconds fast, and it's like, wow, like this is so cool to me that this is where things are at, that we're looking at like things by like seconds, you know? Like, I
Right.
mean, it's really cool. I feel like it was not, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here in my observations, but like I just feel like it was not that long ago that like the conversations were like how to get me to be able to keep running towards the end of 100 mile, or to
Exactly.
like be able to like just looking at such a big piece of the pie that was like left as a big question mark, and now it feels like I'm down to like, okay, I lost 2 minutes from this fall, and then I lost like another minute here, and it's just, and that's kind of zooming in, I guess, to say the racing between Molly and I, which was ultimately, I think, within like 2 minutes or so at the finish. And yeah, obviously there are another three women ahead of that, you know, grouping of us that just absolutely smashed it, and the gaps between me and that grew far bigger. I
Yes, but
think
also
it's like it's
the margin of victory was less than a minute
yeah,
between
yeah,
Jennifer and
yeah,
yeah. So I mean, I think it, it speaks for the level of competitiveness that the sport of ultra running has got to. And I think, yeah, this, I mean, it's pretty much what I wrote you. This, I feel like this race marked a true milestone for women's ultra running, for how fast and how competitive the race was with such a little margin for error. And also, yeah, course records and some amazing performances, but also the fact that Molly ran. She had a good performance, obviously, really good performance for 100K
yeah,
debut. Um, but I think also the fact that she didn't win, and obviously she didn't have a, like it didn't come easy.
yeah,
I think it gives a lot of credibility to the sport, because it's not like a 2:23 marathoner, Olympic bronze medal can just walk in and win everything and
yeah,
destroy all the women's field in ultra running.
yeah,
She's just working as hard as everybody else, and she's struggling. And yes, she gets fourth, which is insane. But
yeah,
also Molly is world class. So
yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
this gives a lot of credibility to the field,
yeah.
to your
I
race, and to
completely agree.
everybody's race. Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a really, I think it was, I think we were all as a sport kind of like waiting to see between her and Des like how that would
Yeah.
play out with some of these big road names coming to the trails, and it's like it's yeah, it's such an exciting time. And you know, I felt like just looking at the women I got to race out there this weekend, like such deep respect for those women. I mean, it's just incredible. And like, yeah, it really was an honor to be part of. Like, yeah, I felt like really honest racing out there, and just like a really fun time. And so, yeah, I'm just like really excited to, yeah, race these women all again in June.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I think we earned some respect from some track athletes and road marathoners. Sometimes
Yeah,
I feel the whole sport of trail and ultra running is a little bit overlooked, just because trail runners are not as fast. And yes, of course, like if you judge the sport just by just taking our marathon or 10K PR, for obviously
yeah,
we are slower than track and road marathoners, but that's just not the right parameter to look at, because nobody's judging a track athlete by their time on a certain trail or a hill climb or an FKT.
yeah,
They're judged in their event. So I feel like this conversation is always a bit tricky, but I think the more crossover there is, the better, just because the sport grows, but obviously this race proved that not even it takes a world class road marathoner to win a golden ticket, but she doesn't even win the race. So obviously I'm super happy for Molly, but also for
Me too.
everybody that raced with her.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a really really good one. Yeah, I mean, and just even looking historically, I mean, it is so crazy to think of, it was not that long ago that like a lot of these top women's times would have been winning what were great men's races in the past, like really good athletes. And I think it just speaks for not just the women's races growth, but like, the density across both sides and like the expectations for what it means to race at the front of, something like Black Canyon now. It's really exciting.
Yeah. And maybe more on the emotional side. I think we exchanged a couple of messages after the race. You wanting to make sure that I was doing okay, which is really nice of you, and then mentioning that in a way the race felt like a relief because it released from the weight of expectations and pressure that maybe your win at Western States last year created. The fact that obviously now you have more expectations on you and everybody expects you to be always at that level. But, of course, everybody, like we all wish those extraordinary performances were the normality, but they're just not, because then they wouldn't be as extraordinary. So I think to normalize those races, those situations, doesn't do justice of who we really are. And obviously we strive to always have those kind of days, but it's just not possible. So to just go out and do your own thing is, probably what we should expect from you. But I don't know, it's hard at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely like it reminds me a little bit of your post as well that you shared after the race, some sentiments about like, you know, like I think you and I both have certain athletes whose like careers that we look up to ourselves, and I'm sure there's probably athletes that are looking maybe at us and being like, but wait a minute, like you guys are the careers I'm, aspiring to, and you're telling me you guys still have like these people that you're like wishing you were more like, or maybe like wondering what they would do if they were in our shoes. And I think, yeah, I think that can be really, really easy to do. And I think also it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's important that we remember our journeys that led us to those meaningful results in the first place. So for me, like a race like Western States, looking at my previous, couple years going into that, I would not say that that was a logical path there. It was a path of being very scrappy and believing when the odds were stacked against me, and seeing something greater than others saw in myself. And I'm trying to remember that like that is kind of the same mentality and path that I want to take forward with me, regardless of like, the meaningful results from last year. I mean, yeah, that's what was working, not like trying to like have some perfect streak of results. That's never been for me. That's never been my story as an athlete, as much as I would love
Yeah.
that to be the case. And even for those athletes that do have these, like stellar, seemingly perfect list of results, it is just as hard. Like it reminds me of the Eileen Gu quote
Exactly.
this week, where
Yes.
she's like, yeah, your expectations of me, what did she say? It was so good. Like your
Like,
expectations of me rose, but it's just as hard for me every
yeah,
single time. It gets harder.
exactly.
And
After the first gold
yeah,
medal, your expectations rise, but for me, the challenge remains just as
yeah,
difficult, which is true.
yeah,
Like, to win a gold medal, to win a race is just as hard, not because you've done it before, it becomes easier.
yeah.
So,
And I think that's like probably the biggest thing that I think people, maybe get wrong about some of those like athletes that have logged so many big wins. It is just as hard for them every time. And yeah,
this is
like
why I get so
I,
mad because when everybody is expecting, Jim or Killian to win, I think it's
yeah,
disrespectful for the work that they put in, the training that they do, which is insane because I've seen it. Uh, and it's just, yeah, I mean, obviously they're super talented and they're just goats, but
yeah,
it doesn't mean that whenever they're like on the start line, we're all the same.
yeah,
What matters
exactly.
is just how much work you put in and what you're able to do on race day. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's good like to have chats like we've had, that like help debunk some of that because I think it's easy to not vocalize it and to think that maybe you're the only one experiencing these things. But yeah, everybody does. And yeah, I think long gone, especially in the women's field, I think long gone are the days when there's only a couple girls that believe they can win. That is becoming, you know, like we're now at start lines with a ton of very capable women who know how to and believe they can win. And that's really exciting because I feel like it was, yeah, not that long ago that like maybe like in our sport, women were more nervous to say like, yeah, I believe I can win or I want to win. And I just feel like, yeah, there's, yeah, a lot of really exciting, yeah, brave results happening in the sport right now.
yeah, I feel like it's a sign of a more mature and professional sport, which is kind of what we want, like what we are all pushing towards as elite athletes. Like we're pushing the sport forward, raising the bar at every race. The density and competitiveness and the level is getting higher. So it's the natural consequence of all
Yeah.
this process and everybody trying to do their best.
Yeah. I mean, I've personally taken a lot of inspiration from, I've become a big fan of like following gravel cycling and
Yeah.
a lot of those athletes for the American gravel scene here in the US. For those, I like just talked about this in another podcast recently, but for those interested, I highly recommend checking out the Call of a Lifetime YouTube series. It's fantastic, and they do some really great videos, kind of summarizing, the big battles happening at the front of these races across the Lifetime Grand Prix. And I've just been like really admiring how these athletes speak about their results. I think there's like a lightness to it that I think sometimes we don't have in trail and ultra running. I think it could partially be due to like, the higher volume of races that cyclists can do. There's like maybe a little bit less attachment to some of the results versus for those of us that are at a start line 4 or 5 times a year, it feels heavier. But nonetheless, I feel like really inspired by how a top athlete will sometimes have, like a bad technical execution and they'll end up 15th and they'll go, yeah, that's what it was today. Like, here's where the mistakes were made, on to the next one. And I feel, yeah, like personally really inspired by that. And I think there's also like the wins are maybe taken in stride a little bit more too, because also partially maybe because how a lot of the races play out where there's like late sprints and things like that, but it's yeah, just like I feel like the way they speak about it has been a source of inspiration for me myself and how I look at a race like this. I think maybe in the past I would have like beat myself up more,
Yeah.
internalize things more, and I feel like I'm coming out of this trying to embrace this like what I'm gleaning is like maybe a cyclist mentality of like great battle out there, strong competitors, amazing women I got to race, learning on to the next one. Um, and yeah.
Yeah, except that the next one for them is maybe in a week, and for us is in 3 months. So it's a little harder, but I like that mentality too. Like not let just one data point or one result define your quality as an athlete, and just being able to quickly move on to the next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you mentioned, obviously, I think most people know your story behind Western States, and obviously that was an extraordinary day and performance. Uh, in retrospect, now are you able to contextualize and understand why you had such a good day, or does it still feel like something magic, uh, out of the norm? I don't know, something that you can't explain to yourself.
Mm. I think it's both. I think like if I were sitting here with Coop, my coach, I would probably talk so much on like the magic side and like the journey and what that meant for me. And then I think Coop would be very quick to like point out like, oh no, there's like very logical data that supports like how we
Exactly.
got there. And I think I have been, yeah, I really have spent a lot of the last, like since Western States, like a lot of those months have been spent like accepting like what happened and that it happened. And I think that took a little bit more time than I anticipated. But I do think that like one thing I've been thinking about, and I guess maybe I'll tie your question to Black Canyon a little bit, is like this element of specificity. And I think a race like Black Canyon is highly, every race is, I was going to say a race like Black Canyon is highly specific, but like I think every major race across our sport and our circuit, our scene, whatever you want to call it, like this element of specificity, I think is far more critical than I think maybe is even discussed. And I think a lot about coming out of this past weekend, I think a race like a Western States or a CCC, I think fits my personal strengths a lot better, fits the type of training I'm doing most of the year. And I've been thinking a lot about that because like when I zoom into the level of like Black Canyon where I'm like 20 seconds here, 30 seconds here, I mean, I'm now some of those takeaways are now so specific that do those same takeaways then apply if to whatever the next course is? Not necessarily. I mean, the idea is the same, but like I think the specificity is so tailored for each of these goals that I think it's really worth paying attention to. So I think for the case of Western States, when I zoom out, I really think about how specifically prepared I was to do exactly what I did. Like
Okay.
most of my training, like just about every day leading into that was, a hot, high altitude, fast rolling run at very, very similar paces and intensities and terrain. And so to me, that makes sense a little bit more of what felt like the magic in hindsight. And yeah, there's a logic to it that I believe like we my team and I know how to like rebuild this year and recreate. And I think that like even just your question is kind of like maybe the bridge to my growth this year of like was it just this magic perfect day? Yes, but also like I do believe there's the data and the steps there that
Yes.
I feel are now this tool that I get to go into this year with. And I know what worked and I know how to trust that. So
Yes. Also, yeah, it's super interesting what you said, and I think sometimes we're not fully aware of how fit we are, how well prepared we are for a specific goal until we do it, and then in retrospect it feels perfect, excellent. But yeah, when you are in the in the middle of your preparation, in the middle of the, like, it's still hard. It doesn't necessarily feel good. But then in retrospect, it'll make sense, and you're able to deliver on race day, which is then what matters, what we remember. And I don't know. I think it's also difficult to compare fitness across different preparations because the specificity that you mentioned is for sure very relevant. So I don't know, for example, how you would compare your fitness just before Black Canyon to your fitness just before Western States. For example, if I compare my fitness just before Black Canyon and my fitness just before my win at CCC last year, I think I might have been even fitter now before Black Canyon.
Yeah.
But then it's also a slightly different type of fitness, and I don't actually know how I would have performed on a course like CCC. Like, the only way to have an answer is to run the exact same race with the exact same conditions and to compare the times. So I don't know, because we're talking about very small margins. Sometimes something that is hard for me is that you work so hard to basically run the same splits the same times over and over, because the margin of improvement might be 2 seconds on an interval if it
Yeah.
goes perfect. So like yeah, those things are so small, so elusive.
I know, and I think where my brain is like, what I'm really curious about right now is like, I felt maybe a tiny, tiny margin fitter this year than last year. Like, and I'm judging that by, I don't know, like what my threshold pace was. And we're talking few second difference. My ability to like sustain that over long runs, yeah, maybe a little bit better. But then to then run 25 minutes faster than last year, that I don't think I'm not sure how many percent that would be. Let's say it's like whatever, 4% or I don't know. Like, yeah, I think it's probably about maybe 5% or something. But I don't
Okay.
think I'm 5% fitter than last year. Nor do I think if we all lined up the top men and women and we all were doing lab tests, workouts, like I don't believe those differences I don't believe we're being ranked according to those fitness differences. I believe that it's our
There,
ability to execute on the
there's
day.
got to be
And
something else. Yes.
yeah, because it's like, and that's, I think, what I'm really interested in right now in my notes and my takeaways is like, where did where did that time come in the form of executional losses for me during the race? And that this is like then like I feel like there's so much here because then I also think about something that Rod said on a podcast once that I loved so much and really influenced my Western States last year, where he was talking about not letting past, this is I think his interview on Free Trail after he was second at Western States a couple of years ago, like not letting past executional mistakes determine what his top end
Oh yeah.
was at a race. Like, and I think that's so huge because it's easy to come out of
Huge.
a race like this weekend and think, all right, if I'm this many, minutes slower off of the winner, then that means double that out across 100 miles. I guess I'll be this far behind. It's like, no, 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 no. This is not the math to be like, posturing off of. This is like yes, there were like maybe executional differences that built up to that difference, but that is not by any means like the demonstration of the max that's available to be done at that distance. And I think this is just where our sport gets really interesting.
Yeah, totally. No, it's a really good point, but yeah, just just a thought. I always appreciate Rod's takes and his blog posts. I think are amazing. So if you're not familiar with them, I suggest checking out his blog, his website. Um, but yeah, it's super interesting how it is physiology, it is math to a certain degree, but it's pretty evident that there's more to that. And it comes down to how you approach the race mentally, the strategy, and then I think just the context you're in, just the fact that more women are pushing the limits together with you, for example, is huge. Um, and the belief, I always debate with myself how much my self-confidence and belief should be grounded in data and workouts and training, and to what extent that self-confidence can build and become a force that drives me forward. I think it should always be based on reality. Like, it's not just because you want something you're going to achieve it, because your will is big enough. But then, yeah, I don't know where the limit is exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the factor that I think can be easy to chalk up to this category of like the magic as we're talking about. But there is like, to me, I think that that magic maybe is like the specificity if you were to actually put like terms to it. Like, and I don't know. I think there also is maybe a like still a good small percent of magic involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a magic that is still grounded in reality, like in the work, the training, the preparation. But then I don't know. It's hard to put into words how it comes together when you
Yeah.
achieve a really really good performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what makes it special, I guess.
Right. And then the fact that like everybody's chemistry to get there is a little bit different. Like
Yes,
it's
yes.
not just taking what, you know, I did for my training last year and replicating that again to win Western States. Like for me or for anyone. Like it's that's one reason too why I am feel very transparent sharing my training, because I hold that belief that like if you want to do this step for step, you're welcome to. And I still don't believe that that's the full picture. Um, and yeah, I think that's just a really fascinating part about all this, and even a reminder for myself that like looking to Western States this year, it's not about like recreating anything. It's like I've got a good, I have a good, really good blueprint I can trust, but there's new challenges this time, new areas for growth, and like that those pieces are always shifting a little bit. And it's up to me to kind of be following that and pursuing what I need to like put that the best put that together the best in training and racing.
Yeah, and it's also a really good motivation to still strive to be the best athlete that you possibly can, because I think by just replicating what you've done in a previous preparation is maybe not as motivating. It feels like
Yeah.
doing the same things over and over, but you're not actually learning or progressing. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what makes the sport fun.
Yeah. It really is.
Cool. Thanks, Abby. Always very insightful and very interesting to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, it's always really fun. Thanks for a good conversation and
Yeah,
yeah, appreciate it.
good recovery. I hope you can run very soon.
Thank you.
The knee issue is nothing serious. So
Thank you.
yeah, take your
Yeah.
time. Do you think you'll do any race before Western States?
I was just trying to decide that. I'm still deciding. If I did something, it would maybe be short, but I also lean towards having a longer stretch of time to do some like multiple bigger blocks.
Okay.
Yeah, I go over to Europe in a couple weeks for a Adidas team camp.
Oh, fun.
So I know, yeah, it'll be fun, and yeah, so I know I've got that on the calendar, and just wanting to be conscious of how I spread my energy and things like that. Yeah, so I at this point I'm leaning towards just multiple training cycles, but yeah, it's
Makes
always a
sense.
hard balance.
Yeah. Okay, we'll connect. I'm sure we'll connect before Western States.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
sounds wonderful. Okay, have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.